She went to bed. Oh my God.
She went to bed. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Cubist. My name is Bill Corey. I am the Cubist, and we are gonna. This is gonna be a lot of fun tonight. First of all, we have our normal co-host / second chair / my biggest fan in the world right now, Kimberly Revia. Hello, Kimberly. How are you?
Hi, Bill. I'm okay-ish.
She loves me so much right now. Yeah,
so much.
Yeah, so much. We also have returning the Ed McMahon to my Arsenio Hall, Mr. Brandon Kemp of the What Did You Play This Week podcast thing. Hello, Brandon.
Hello. How are you, Bill?
I'm good. And we are joined by two very special guests, both proprietors of board game cafes, our main topic for tonight. First of all, we have Rin Grant of the Castle in Beverly, Massachusetts. Hello, Rin. How are you?
Hello there.
Good to have you. She is at her cafe right now. So you're getting like a sneak peek in through the back door, so to speak. And we also have Kathleen Miller, the soon-to-be proprietor. Are you the soon-to-be proprietor or are you the proprietor? I don't know how this works.
I'm the proprietor of the soon-to-be opened.
There you go. That's a better way to say it. The proprietor of the soon-to-be opened House Rules Cafe in Hudson, New York. Hello, Kathleen. How are you?
Hello, Bill. I'm well. How are you?
Excellent. We are tentatively going back to our Let's Get Fuzzies to sponsor the show plan this week. The captain says hello, and that's all I'll say about that. We briefly did a What's in Your Cup segment where we all talked about whatever we were drinking, but this time it's been the kind of day where booze is appropriate. So thank you, Fuzzies. All right. So before we get into the main topic of board game cafes, let's talk about stuff we've been playing lately. Kimberly, I hear you've been playing a bunch of games lately.
Mm-hmm. Yep, love you.
Yeah, see? Like what?
Like Winner's Circle by Knizia. That's good. That's enough.
How does it work?
It is a bidding game where you bid on ponies.
Okay. Do you bid on them to own them or because they race?
Yep. Racing.
Okay. So it's a bidding game with around a racing theme.
Yes.
Got it.
And you are not a specific color. You're bidding on ponies, kind of like in Camel Up, but it's a little bit more interesting. It uses cards and dice, but in a different way.
Gotcha.
It's a thing.
Sure. How many players does it play?
Oh, I don't know. Lots. 6. We played 6. That was max. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Lots. Nice.
I don't know.
Excellent. Okay. So the Cubist scale: buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it. What do you think?
I think it's incredibly out of print.
Okay, but that doesn't mean people can't buy it. There's an aftermarket for games.
This one was quite expensive from what I hear. I would play it.
It's a play it. Okay.
It's a play it.
It's
for
not
me personally.
It's not so good that tracking it down in the expensive aftermarket is worthwhile.
Probably not. I mean, it is for some people, but for me personally,
but for you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Play
Very good. Very good. All right, I'm just going to work my way down the list of people as they appear on my little screen. Rin, what have you played lately?
Oh, whoa. So, not much, because turns out running a business takes a lot of time. Who knew? So I finally just played Time Stories, but it took like 2 months to finish.
Oh, wow, because you kept having to save
only
it and come
3
back.
sessions. Only 3 sessions, but 2 months to make those happen.
Oh, jeez.
So
you played the base scenario in the main box?
Yeah, I just played Asylum.
Okay. Very cool. So for people that may not have played it, we've actually talked about this a couple of times fairly recently on the show. But a real quick 30-second elevator pitch, Rin. How would you describe the game to somebody that had never watched the show?
Oh, goodness. So it's a cooperative game, which are my favorites. So basically, you're part of this kind of time traveling police. We're going back to figure out what's going on weird in this asylum, and you've got a certain amount of time to figure things out. And when your time runs out, you're sent back to the present. Everything resets, and then you go back to try and make more progress with the information you have. So I loved it at first, but because we had such space in between, we kind of ended up cheating because we were like, we should definitely have remembered that because no one's supposed to take 4 weeks between each session.
Yeah, sure. Did you take notes? Did you take written notes?
Yeah. Well, the first time we didn't take great notes because we were supposed to play the following week, and then that fell through, and no one was free for another 5 weeks. So
gotcha.
It was exciting.
Okay, so
but
your play experience seems like it wasn't ideal
It
the
was
game.
not.
But assuming a normal, quote unquote, normal play experience, what kind of, how do you feel about it? In the Cubist rating scale, a buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it?
I would definitely say play it. I don't see much point in buying it. Story, it's done. It's actually the perfect game for a board game cafe because you can play it forever and put it back on the shelf.
Yeah, just got to make sure everything's back in the right order for everybody. Yeah.
It's true. That's the challenge.
Very cool. See, I feel like I shouldn't have called on you first because you would have been the perfect segue into our main topic. Dang it! All right, well, we'll come back to that. So play it for you.
Say that their game is the perfect game for a board game cafe.
There you go.
Right.
Yes. Kimberly's yes, Dan. Kimberly's keyboard is indeed fairly loud.
It's because I'm on my little tiny laptop.
I know. Kimberly, we'll cut Kimberly a whole lot of slack. She's on the wrong side of the country this week, and she's still managing to join us from Seattle as opposed to normally New Hampshire. So we'll give her.
I'm going to type extra loud tonight, kid.
There you go. Type with your elbows. That'll work.
You're going to like it, Dan.
I got this, you guys. All right. Very cool. Kathleen, what have you played lately?
Well, I've sort of run into the same problem as Rin, where running a business, or in my case, a Kickstarter, hasn't really left me a lot of time for gaming.
Sure.
I would say most recently I've been playing games on apps instead of in person for that exact reason.
Cool.
But I fell in love with the Castles of Mad King Ludwig app a while back, so I've just been going kind of nuts on that one lately.
Very cool.
But I love the game as well.
Okay. So you've played it in cardboard version. You're just now only playing the app. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I've played it in cardboard version a couple of times. It's just the combination of trying to get a group together to play it and me having the least time of everyone has caused some problems.
Sure,
but yeah, I do love the game though.
So really fast, I'm going to force you to do the same thing that we forced Rin to do, is give like a 30-second elevator pitch on how the game works. So that way, if people wanted to, like, have never heard of it before, they would have a basic idea.
Sure. Well, it's it's essentially a landscape building game where you're given a select number of rooms that cost different amounts, and every turn has a different selection of rooms. And you purchase it, and then you're building it on your own castle. So you're using that in order to create the most interesting castle that you possibly can based on the options given, without running out of money or without running into some interesting problems with your fellow players.
Sure.
Play the way my group does, which is a little vicious.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely a game where it can be as mean-spirited as the group wants it to be. Like, it can be a very happy, friendly game where it can be super mean, depending on what the group think kind of evolves. So
yeah, and it was a Mensa rated game, so it can be either very, very simple or very, very complicated depending on the group you play with. And I have one group I will not play with because every time I do, they leave me in the dust, and I still haven't figured out why.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a couple games like that as well. All right, so I tell you what, you're going to have to give 2 ratings for this game then, because you've been playing it primarily on the app. So first, we'll talk about the cardboard version. Yeah. How would you rate the game? Buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it?
Buy it.
Buy it? Okay.
Yeah, I think anybody who wants a strategy-heavy game in their collection should definitely own it. And I also think it has a lot of really unique mechanics that you don't find in this combination anywhere else. And that makes it one of those great core games for any collection.
Perfect. That sounds awesome. All right. And then the app version, are you playing it on what platform are you playing it on first off?
iOS.
On your phone or your
iPhone? It's on my iPhone currently because my iPad is ancient. It is several generations old at this point, and so it no longer works on that. I used to play it on the iPad and actually really liked it on the iPad because I could see everything.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
So the iPhone version of Castles of Mad King, Ludwig or Ludwig or
I think it's
Ludwig or
Ludwig.
however.
I always say Ludwig, but I don't necessarily pronounce things correctly. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say I in the words of one of my favorite YouTubers, John Green, pronouncing things incorrectly is my thing. So there you go. All right, so Kathleen, the app version, buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it.
Buy it, definitely.
Buy the app.
It actually has a campaign that you can play.
Okay,
That
that's cool.
different levels have different restrictions. Like there might be a restriction on what types of rooms you can use, or how many rooms, or all sorts of other little fun tweaks that in some cases make it extremely challenging. So
Very cool. Very cool. I'm actually in the exact same boat as you, Kathleen. I literally have been iPad shopping over the last day or so because I have a second generation iPad that won't run. It'll barely like even start up at any kind of speed now. So I'm right there with you. And so this is a special interest to me because I'd like to get back into doing some app gaming and some things. So this sounds like a solid one. Very cool.
yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Brandon Kemp,
Yes, sir.
what have you played lately?
Well, we played a handful of games, but most notably this weekend, Jason Katarski at Green Couch Games is always kind enough to send us his prototypes and his stuff that's coming to Kickstarter so we can get a preview in for him. So we've been playing the new climbing game from Green Couch Games from the team of, what are they called? The Fleeples now? Riddle and Pinchback. So we've been playing Ladder 29.
Okay.
Which is basically just kind of a twist on the climbing game genre, kind of like a Teach-U or a Clubs or things like that.
Okay.
With a theme of fire truck or fire department fires. It's really kind of neat. Really beautiful little art on the cards. You won't be able to see it because I've got 1,000 watts of light shining on me.
You have glare
I just
for
looked
days.
real quick
but
there. I was like, "That's a beautiful white card right
I
there."
imagine.
Nothing
Oh
to
wait,
it.
hold
seen
on.
that.
It was almost
Oh,
not
wait,
white.
wait.
Stop shaking it. There's a ladder.
It's like a
Hold
ladder.
on.
So
You guys saw something?
I think it's there.
Maybe?
And let's see if we can do the back of the card. That's not quite as bright.
There you go.
But it's the typical climate game. You got your 4 suits of red, green, blue, whatever, yellow in there, and you're basically just trying to one up the next person and go out, be the first person to get rid of your cards. But the neat little thing is they threw in these little hotspot cards, which are basically little rule changers for you, and that's how you score the game based on where you finish. So like some of them you draft these after you draft your cards. So it'll be like no blue cards can be played in pairs or triples and things like that. So it just kind of throws a neat little twist on the climbing game genre.
Wow, that actually sounds really cool.
Yep, I like climbing games. I just never can play them because it's always 2-player here at the house.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's rough getting. We got Gabby to play this one, so that's a step in the right direction. So we got 3.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a sucker. Like Teach-U is probably in my maybe top 20.
If there's one game I will say that I have a shelf that is on my shelf of shame, it's Teach-U. I've never played it. I've owned it forever. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a tough one to learn, so I don't blame you on that. But all right, sorry, we're losing focus. We're going off on a tangent. Brandon, Ladder 29 from upcoming. Yeah, I know. Like we never do that on the show. Ladder 29 from Green Couch. Buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it.
Well, it is coming to Kickstarter on the 15th of March. I will say that. So first, go take a look at House Rules Cafe and back them, and then on the 15th, go ahead and throw your money at Green Couch Games and hit them up. I don't think any of their games ever broke like $18-19, and it's a really nice deck of cards, and it's a really fun game if you like card games.
Very cool. That was the first of our many cheap plugs for House Rules Cafe. We'll get to that over the span of the next 45 minutes or so. We are.
Where did the kitty go, Kathleen? Hold on. Nope. We're going on a tangent. I saw a beautiful kitty. There we go.
Like that. Nope. We're going.
This is the one that we used in the video. There we go. Yeah.
Hi, baby.
That is a very cute cat. I am jealous that there are no cats in my world at the moment. So
she's a sweetie. She is the one that we used in the video because she's the more tolerant of the two.
Gotcha.
The other one is over in the corner glaring at me right now because
as cats do.
Right. Well, yeah, that's how cats roll.
Cat.
Yeah, she's kind of a typical cat. This one, not a typical cat.
There's nothing wrong. There's no such thing as a typical cat. Like I owned a cat when I was a kid that played fetch, which is decidedly uncat-like. And, you know,
I like fetch.
I'm just saying that's,
Yeah.
but let's face it, that's not something that cats are known for.
No,
Like,
no,
that's not a cat.
yeah, both of these will, if you get them in the right mood. It's always really entertaining. And if you get the right toy in the right mood, they will happily play fetch. But they have made it very, very difficult to play games at home.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you actually played on that in your Kickstarter video, for sure.
Yeah, she stayed still just long enough for us to deal out like one hand of love letter.
Nice.
That was about it.
Nice. All right. Well, I got to jump in with the games that I played lately because I feel like when on the show, I've been talking about a lot of new stuff. I've been talking about things that are like I've ranted about Gloomhaven maybe 3 or 4 times on various shows over the last week or whatever. And this time I want to talk about something a little older because I finally pulled out Castles of Burgundy, which is not unplayed, but it hasn't been played on my shelf in a long, long time. And we got it out yesterday. I ended up with an inadvertent day off. I'm self-employed as a DJ, so I very rarely get days off. But the snow, the show that I would have worked was out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, long story short, my girlfriend and I busted out Castles of Burgundy. We had played before, but it was sort of a refresher game for her. For those of you that don't know, it's 2 to 4 players. It's probably, I think it and Trajan are probably neck and neck for the most beloved Stefan Feld games. Like, I feel like those are the 2 sort of darlings of his collection. This one is all about you get 2 dice that you roll every turn, and those dice are effectively actions. They can be used to claim tiles or place tiles or sell goods for points and currency. And then the idea is that you have your personal map grid that you're trying to fill with tiles and fill different regions and earn points by filling regions, and each space on that map can only hold a certain type of tiles. You're trying to buy the correct tiles to fill exactly what you need. It's very puzzly, see, now this is the game that I feel like was the first time I heard the term point salad thrown around a lot. This was the game that I feel like maybe kicked off that mentality and that reputation for Feld, because you're getting points at a million different places in this game. You're getting them from filling regions and from building specific buildings and doing this and doing that. And there is no one thing that that is the main source of your points in the game. So it works really well, but I have to cheat and give this one 2 ratings. If you're playing it 2 or 3 player, this is a buy it for sure. Like, this is just a solid game that you can't go wrong with. But 4 player, I downgrade this to a play it because I think it has issues at 4 players. I think that mechanically it suffers a little bit. So
I've heard that before. You're not the first one to make that complaint. I was playing it at actually Granite Game Summit last year.
Yay!
cheap plug number 2. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
We do that cheap plug a lot.
And we had very much the same conversation about the 4-player issue.
My concern with 4-player, I think, is a little different than most people's concern with 4-player, which is in my world. The reason I don't like a 4-player is because there are certain of the like technology, the yellow tiles in the game that are, quite frankly, clearly better than others. There are a couple of those tiles that if they come up and you know how to leverage them, can easily win you the game. And in a 4-player game, there are precisely enough tiles that every one of them will come up.
Yeah.
And so there's no variability. You know that the broken tile is going to show up. It's just a matter of when. So, which means you can.
The when can have a significant impact, though.
It can, but I don't know. It bothers me. I feel like I want there to just be like a half a dozen more of those tiles in that box, just so that
you're
way
not certain.
Right. So you can't rely on it, because I have seen and I've watched people do it where they know that tile, you see, okay, it didn't come up in round 1. So therefore I adjust my strategy here. And it makes the game a little bit more scripted than I would like, because it pretends to not be scripted, but it can feel that way at 4 players. Only at 4 players. If you're going to play with 2 or 3, it's fantastic, and I cannot recommend it enough, because then there's enough variability. You can't predict anything with that level of certainty. But at 4 players, it just suffers a little bit. So
I think there's a promo that actually adds more of the science tiles.
Is there? Okay.
I think so.
Well, then that would solve the problem. But the fact that it's a promo, which means it might be a little bit harder to come by, might change things. Is it on the BGG store?
I believe you're asking the wrong person.
I feel like maybe you would know these things, having brought them up, but no, not so much.
There are a decent amount of BGG, Castles of Burgundy promos on BGG, I believe.
Okay. I'm sorry to derail things, but I don't want to type this in the chat. I'm just going to point. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, this is my Red Raven shelf
Yes.
up here. Sorry,
so
guys.
what's the hole?
The hole is where the ancient world was. I'm making room for Near or Far, which is coming, and the ancient world is easily the least well received of all the games, like by a long shot. All of the other games that are up there are beloved by at least one or two of my gaming groups, and nobody liked the ancient world all that much but me. So I ended up trading it away.
Good job to Matt for guessing the hole.
Yes, good job, Matt. Well done. So, all right, so moving on. See, it didn't take the whole show, Kimberly. You damn cheater. See how you are? All right.
You said the bad word, Bill.
No, I did not say the word that rhymes with duck. We have never said that you can't say damn. All right. So moving on, our main topic. The reason that we have Kathleen and Rin on the show is because they are both proprietors of Board Game Cafes, which is this totally alien concept to me because I live in a small, fairly rural, let's face it, kind of hick town in Wisconsin, where I think I'm one of about 3 people in this area that even has any idea what these board games behind me are, let alone, has any interest in playing them. So, and maybe, and actually, I'm probably not being fair to my community when I say that, because there's probably, it's not right to generalize like that. But the point is that I don't have a community that really caters to the idea of this, or at least it doesn't seem to. But Rin and Kathleen clearly live in communities that do. So we want to pick your brains on board game cafes, because I think they're fascinating, and I just don't get them at all because I've never seen one. I just don't. So let's start. So how did you? Okay, so we're going to start with Rin because she is currently sitting in her cafe. Rin, how long has the castle been there? Like, how long has it been in business?
It's coming up on a year and a half, a little over a year.
Okay, and you are the owner, or are you the manager?
It's my husband.
You and your husband.
We co-own.
Very cool. All right, and how did you decide that you want that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, originally we just wanted to open a game store, and then we looked into it, and it was basically like, unless you just want to sell magic cards all the time, you're going to close immediately.
Yeah.
And we're not anti-magic. I'm in the magic room right now, so you can tell because it's not as nice as the rest of the cafe.
It looks magical.
In the back, and it's still nicer than all the places they're used to playing.
Yeah.
We're like, guys, we'll make it nicer, and they're like, this is amazing.
It has heat and walls, and there isn't water leaking on things. It's great.
They're so blessed. But so while looking into what we really were looking to do was create a place in the community where people could hang out and spend time together and be social and not be on their phones and all that. And then we came across Snakes and Lattes, which for people who don't know is the most successful board game cafe probably in the world. It wasn't the first, but it is probably the best. So it's in Toronto.
Okay.
And they kind of are the ones that pretty much every board game cafe you look at that opens now goes and looks at Snakes and Lattes, and they should look at Snakes and Lattes. They've been open coming up on 7 years. I think they opened in 2010.
Yeah.
And we thought, that sounds cool. So we went up to Toronto, met with the manager, looked around and said, yeah, I think we could do this, which was a foolish thing to say because neither of us have worked in a restaurant, a Starbucks, a Dunkin' Donuts, anything.
It's the best plan.
Place confidence came from, but we're still open, so something's going okay.
Coffee. That's the hot opaque one, right? Like that's the one you can't see
there's
through. Is that
dirt in
that?
it to make it brown, and people love it. You tell them it's a gourmet thing, and that it's like single source beans. They go crazy.
Hey, I have a Keurig. I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have it in the kitchen and they can't see what's happening,
Exactly.
that's fine.
Make lots of noise. You're good.
I just want you to know, remember, Rin, that the internet can see this, and we'll see this for all eternity. So Rin does not use a Keurig. I'm just
No.
throwing that out
We have
there.
an espresso machine. You can see it out in the open. You can come see it for
Okay,
yourself.
Gotcha. That's awesome. All right, so you went at it from the whole, this is amazing. I totally think we can do that. Oh crap, maybe we can't. But yes, we can. Yay. And it's a year and a half later and you're still there.
Yes.
Perfect. That sounds that is the closest thing to the American dream that I can think of. So Kathleen,
it is the American dream, which means I'm really tired, but
inspired by Canadians.
Yes.
That's the other half of this that you have to think about is that
the true American dream is always
it's the
inspired by
Canadian American dream. And we will do our very best to steer clear of any political commentary with regards to America versus Canada right now and move on to Kathleen. Hello. So
Hello.
you are in the process right now. You're in your last few days of a Kickstarting campaign.
Yes.
A Kickstarting campaign. A Kickstarter campaign for a new board gaming cafe in Hudson, New York. That's going to be called House Rules, right?
Yes. I'm 3 days out, and I just broke the $500 to the goal mark.
So you're really close.
Right there. I'm right there.
So just so you're aware, the Cubist podcast is currently backing your show. So we're putting our money where our mouths are here because it seems like you've got a cool thing coming. So
well, thank you. I'm certainly trying. So House Rules. I came at things a little differently than Rin. I've been in the food and wine industry pretty much my entire adult life. For the last decade, it's been pretty much just the bar and retail side of the wine and spirits industry, not so much the food industry. But I've always wanted to open something that was a cafe, that was a actually, that's not true. I should backtrack. I originally wanted to start a tapas bar and wine bar, and I wanted to find some really awesome chef and just go for it and do something that was comfort food in tapas form. And then I realized if I go out and find a chef for something, that's a whole other level of expenses that I have to deal with. And then I thought, wine bar. I can do wine bar. I know wine. I know wine really, really well. I've got certifications all over the place. I can do this. And then realized that wine bars are a very, very small niche industry, in many ways even smaller than board game cafes, because they only appeal to a very small community. So
Sure.
I kind of kept poking around. And I got back into gaming a few years ago as a result of Tabletop, the show. Mm-hmm. I started watching it because of Will Wheaton and kept watching it because I was reminded, oh yeah, I really like this stuff, and started growing my own personal collection, which, as we all know, takes on a life of its own. Exactly, something like that. And I was getting to a point with the job I was in where I couldn't go any further and still stay in that job. And upstate New York, wine jobs are not really all that common. I managed to find one that was really, really good. And then, well, yeah, I kind of hit my peak up here. And throwing out lots of ums here, and I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we try very hard to be as chill as humanly possible on this show. So you're good. Don't worry about it. Okay. We had somebody on a cell phone for a while. We're good. And then we had two of that person. It was amazing. Don't sweat it. We're all set.
Anyway, so I decided that I was going to just go ahead and take the jump and start looking into what I could do that would combine my experience in food and wine with my love of all things nerd and geek. Sure. And that pretty much came up with board game cafes. I started doing research, and the castle was actually one of the first things that popped up because it was pretty much when you punched in board game cafe with various different qualifiers, like say New England. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what that came up. I was like, oh, this is exciting. So my sister and brother-in-law live over in North Central Massachusetts. When I was over visiting, I was like, I will go over there. I think this was after a month or so of emailing back and forth. And I was finally like, I'm going to go over there and visit and actually talk to them.
Cool.
And Rin gave me lots of good advice, and I ran with it. And then all of a sudden, last September, I found a space, and everything sort of started from there.
Nice.
It's all just kind of kept happening.
Sure.
Which I think until I open, it's all going to seem a little unreal.
Yeah, I hear that.
It'll still seem unreal after you open. So
Okay, good to know.
And apparently you will never get a day off again for the rest of your life, according to
That
Rin.
also.
Even when it snows.
Even
Oh,
when
yeah.
it's-
Well,
especially
I
when
mean
it
that.
snows.
Oh yeah, especially when it snows. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean that's all of that is. I expect that part of it.
Yeah.
If I can get a few hours a week off to actually go sing in choir, then I'll be happy.
There you go. Very
That's all I
cool.
need.
Okay, so that's sort of how you both have like entered this space, right? Like Rin went to Snakes and Not Lattes and said, "Hold my beer, I got this," and then ended up in a cafe. And you sort of identified a version of a niche that hadn't been addressed yet. It sounds like, like there was. I'm sorry. Did I
No,
misstate that incorrectly?
No, not at all. That's actually pretty much what happened. Although, admittedly, I guess we could call it the subgenre of what I'm doing with the Board Game Cafe is something that has sort of developed over the last 6 months. It wasn't part of the original plan, but the idea to not only be a space focused on the non-gaming community, which is a smaller town like Hudson in upstate New York, where there's a larger community around us, but the town itself is very, very small.
Sure.
It makes a lot more sense to go for things in a less hobbyist direction and more in a very casual, oh, you like Monopoly? Great. I've got half a dozen games that you're going to love. Let me show them to you.
I thought
So
for
it's
half a
kind of-
second you were going to say that you have a half a dozen versions of Monopoly that you can hand them. Here,
I mean-
here's my Garfield Monopoly, and here is my.
Technically,
Monopoly Millionaire.
technically, I have about 7 versions of Monopoly. that I can
Kathleen,
offer
thank
people.
you for joining us on the show. I really appreciate you being here. I'm sorry you have to go so early. That's really too bad, but I really appreciate.
In my defense, most of them were donated to me by a friend and they had been gifted to her. So
and that's
honestly,
I'm
it's
100. I am 100% kidding.
I know.
So, Chris, your moderator, Chris, from the excellent podcast Flip the Table, one of our patrons on the new Cubist Patreon. See, cheap plug number 3. Yeah, look at that. That's coming. And longtime friend of the show. He's been on the show before and whatever. Is an avowed fan of Monopoly and will go to bat for that game. And it's fun to poke fun at him. And so I just had to throw that in there.
We can poke fun at Monopoly also because every time we go on a family vacation, one of the things that usually comes out is Monopoly because even though
sure.
we're all gamers for some reason, exactly, it's like the first thing that like that and Catan are guaranteed to come out some point during the vacation. But the moment it comes out, my husband will immediately sit down and figure out how he can buy Boardwalk and Park Place. He doesn't
Sure.
care about anything else as long as he gets those. He will go completely bankrupt. He will mortgage everything.
Yeah, sure. Hey, you know what? Your sub goals. There's nothing wrong with that. We'll go down this tangent for a moment. In August, I am going on a week-long vacation with my girlfriend and 10 other friends, and we are renting a houseboat on Lake Powell, Utah, for a week. So the idea is that it's this big. So I don't know if you're familiar with Lake Powell, but it's basically like a lake at the bottom of its own canyon, for lack of a better term. So it's very private and sheltered and whatever. And we have a 57-foot houseboat that we're all going to live on for a week and whatever. And they know that I'm the game guy, right? So they're like, well, you're going to bring board games, right? And I said, sure. Yes, I absolutely will. Like, cool. Are you going to bring Monopoly? No, I am absolutely not. That is not going to happen. And there's reason. Yeah. So that's the other reason I took fun is because it was literally in my head from a couple days ago, but no hate. And this actually ties in really well to one of our questions from one of our viewers.
It does, from Matt.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Matt wanted to know. Hold on, I don't have that part open right now. I'm on a tiny laptop, Bill.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Matt wanted to know how much of a cafe is supported by casual family gamers versus like hardcore gamers who come in on a set schedule or a meetup group.
So it seems
Anybody?
like this is focused towards Rin because Rin is currently open.
I think so, yeah.
Kathleen doesn't have her customers yet. She will soon. So soon.
Yes.
Soon.
So
Yes.
soon.
Although I'm sure you already have fans. I'm sure you already have people swearing they'll be there every day.
I do, and it's very weird. Like I have people who have actually been going out and telling their friends that this is opening and getting them to support the Kickstarter,
As they should.
which is awesome. But I also, it's like, oh, you actually like me, okay?
They like me. They really like me.
I would
Exactly.
say customer wise in general, like probably 80% of the people we have are that casual gamer crowd, but the 20% who aren't are here all the time.
Gotcha. Rin,
So-
just for background for those of us that aren't familiar with Beverly, Massachusetts, how big is
Yes.
Beverly, like as a community?
I'd have to. So I'm from
It's
Maine.
not big.
Like,
Do you
I grew up in a, like
Do you drive
6,000
into the
people.
town ever? Because don't they have the green sign at the outside of town that tells you how many people are in it? That's the thing, right?
memorize that, Bill?
No, I want to say 60,000. I don't know. Everybody.
40,000. It's 40,000. I
40,000?
Googled it for you.
I
Yeah,
was just gonna
beat
say,
it.
somebody's gonna say it in the chat for a second.
40,000 as of 2013, but more are flocking there because of the castle.
Yes, there you go.
It's a growing city, so it's
There you
not huge, but we're a Boston suburb. It's not small. But yeah,
Gotcha.
mostly it's the more casual. We get a lot of college kids that we have to tell that there are games other than Cards Against Humanity that exist. We have a lot of D&D groups who are in here all the time. And then we have some very hardcore. We had some people come in. They brought it in. We don't actually have it because no one has time to play it. But we had a group of guys play Twilight Imperium the other night.
Nice.
They were here all day. It didn't end well.
Did they drink a lot of coffee?
I wasn't here for most of it, but apparently one of them got mad and left early on. So
Oh, so that's why it didn't end well. Okay. I thought they were those
Yeah.
guys that sat in the corner and drank water for 8 hours. No?
well, we get those too. But
Yeah.
that's why you have so the way it works is it's
The cover
$5
charge.
person to play. But you can stay as long as you want, play as many games as you want.
Oh, okay. So
And that's to cover the fact that some people will just, get a soda and get free refills for 6 hours,
gotcha.
which is fine.
And actually,
But yeah, mostly casual players.
okay. See, I wouldn't have even thought of that. Like, I literally have never experienced a board game cafe before. So, like,
Oh,
there's
we
basically.
can remedy that, Bill.
Yes,
we can-
I'm ready.
Yeah, we could go to the castle.
I'm ready. Yes, please.
Matthew
That would be
suggested it.
wonderful. Yes,
I mean, not right now.
because
Seattle.
cheap plug number
Yeah, we're
4.
closing.
Cheap plug number 4. Bill will be in that neck of the woods in 3 weeks. Yeah.
Oh
3
my
weeks.
God! Don't say that. Yeah.
3 weeks from tomorrow is when I arrive for Bill's birthday bash. # Bill's birthday bash. Otherwise known as the Granite Game Summit. It is
Hey,
my
we'll
birthday.
be there.
Yes, we should play a game
We should.
because I haven't committed to enough games with enough people yet so far on this trip. So no, it's gonna very cool. Yes, please. I would like to go there. That's awesome because I literally have never been in one, so I didn't understand that there was such thing as like a cover charge, so people can just come in and play games.
Yeah, I guess I should explain that. So the way it works is it's $5 person to play, but you can play as many games as you want and for as long as you want. So if you come in when we open it Saturday at 11 and you want to play games all day till Saturday when we close and not buy anything, it's just going to be $5.
That's a hell of
Which
a
is
deal.
cheaper than the movies. It's cheaper than mini golf. It's cheaper than pretty much any other form of entertainment. But it's getting people in that mindset because what they're thinking is, I'm in a cafe. Why should I pay
Right.
at the table? So
That's awesome.
No.
I would have.
understand the value.
Sure. And for the record, it's $5 even if you then are also going to buy coffee and whatever, right? Like just so I understand.
Yeah.
It's $5 no matter what.
So
Okay,
some
good.
cafes do it differently. There are some that do it per hour, like $2.50 an hour, but that I find stressful because you're thinking about how much time you're spending. There's some that if you spend a certain amount, they reimburse it. But we found the $5 flat fee is just the easiest. It's the most successful in the most board game cafes from what we've seen. So we just stick with that.
Yeah, and that per hour thing would make me feel like the feed the meter theory, right? Like when you're at a place and you have to do street parking and you're sitting there with alarm set on your phone. Oh God, I have to go feed the meter. Yeah, that would be annoying. I wouldn't want.
There was a board game cafe in Toronto that did that, and they're actually closed now. Which maybe that's not the reason. But
did they?
Maybe it's not the reason.
Yeah, it was actually they were called Castle Board Games. So when they closed, I was like, I don't want to wish anyone poorly, but that was confusing. So I'm glad they're gone. But now there's a Castle Board Games in like Thailand or something. So we got to watch our back.
There's a House Rules that opened, I think, in Myanmar last year. So it's really funny because I got the Twitter handle and the website that's House Rules Cafe, and then they have the Instagram and Facebook House Rules Cafe.
Oh no!
So that's a little So oh well.
Oh man, that would brand confusion. And how far are they away from you?
The other House Rules, they're in Myanmar.
No, I don't know where that is.
Like Southeast Asia.
Okay, there we go. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize that word. All right, yeah. Okay, so that's Well,
there's a lot of board game cafes in Asia, and a lot of them seem to base themselves on board game cafes here, which is really interesting.
Oh, really? So that's
there's a Games and Lattes that their logo looks almost exactly like Snakes and Lattes, and I'm just like, this is fascinating. So
there's like a Chinese knockoff version of board game cafes.
Something like that.
I mean,
that's
are you
so weird.
It's weird.
I kind of am. Like, I guess it makes sense. I guess if you could knock off that, you can knock off this. But what a weird thing to be like, yeah, that's totally amazing. I'll just do that thing.
Do it here.
I guess. Sure. Okay, we have a couple more questions in the chat that we should hit up. Let's see. I want to kind of do them in chronological order here. Do you worry about whether things get so somebody made a joke about
damage.
Yeah, about damage to games in your.
And then Matthew mentioned a very specific incident that recently happened at the castle.
Oh yeah. Okay, so story time, Ren.
No, I don't know that. I don't know if it was even one of Rin's games. It was the black box of some Glory to Rome.
Black box copy of Glory to Rome. Oh no.
Yes.
Yikes.
I know who did it, but I don't believe it's the castle's game. Correct?
Okay.
I don't know. No.
Oh
no,
that's that's like $100 copy of that game. Yikes. Okay, so all right, so we'll generalize it. How do you deal with damage to your collection?
I mean, a lot of the games that get damaged are like the hard, heavy games don't get played a lot, so they don't deal with a lot of damage.
Sure.
Right.
Someone was telling me the other day, they're like, you have Doomtown, and that's a great game. I don't think anyone's ever played it here. And I'm like, I think you're right. It just for the most part, to play those games, and they're good to have in case, but for the most part, so like the stuff that I looked the other day and somebody was playing Life, and apparently they were playing it legacy game style because all the cards were torn in half. Like, I don't know. But people donate games to us all the time, so I have like 4 copies of Life in the basement. I can just.
I want that to be a thing.
Legacy.
I want there to be a legacy version of Life, real bad.
For the most part, people are actually respectful and nice to the games. We sleeve cards. We try and. I know Snakes and Lattes does more where they like code all their dice and they are hardcore. But a lot of games we have multiple copies of. For the most part, we've been lucky. I think someday something terrible will happen. I know one of the board game cafes, someone kept stealing their pandas out of Takanoka.
Jesus.
Because they're adorable.
They are adorable.
But we have a game return. People don't put games back on the shelves themselves, which I think gives a little bit more of, if I put this here, they check it immediately, they'll know it was me. So we just try and keep an eye on things.
Sure. That makes perfect sense. Kathleen, do you have any sort of ideas on how you're going to handle this when you open?
I do. I think probably the biggest hazard to games is spilled food and sticky fingers, or spilled liquids and sticky fingers, shall we say. Mm-hmm. One of the things that it's in my plans, we'll see if it actually happens. It will be one of the stretch goals. I have probably close to a dozen wooden wine cases that I want to turn into side tables, which would be usable for for food and drink. If it's a larger game, it could be a side table for extra pieces, anything of that sort. So that's my idea, is if you keep the food and the drinks separate, especially the drinks, you're less likely to have damage to the games.
That makes sense.
I know that sleeving is incredibly popular, and I think I probably will end up doing it at some point, but I really dislike how cards fit back in boxes after they've been sleeved. It's one of the things that drives me nuts. I'm a terrible shuffler to begin with. Add in sleeves, and it is impossible.
Yeah. It's basically...
So I'm still kind of struggling with that, and I think on games that will see a lot of play, like Ticket to Ride, I'm not going to have a choice.
Sure.
A game like that's just going to have to everything's going to have to get sleeved. I'm going to have to make sure I have extra components of everything, because I am picturing, I'm picturing Ann Wheaton situations where the trains just kind of explode everywhere. And we'll see. I think a lot of it's just going to have to be figured out as it goes along.
Kathleen, I am 100% on your team. I am an anti-sleever. Like, I've sleeved maybe 3 games in my life. One of them is my copy of Love Letter, because there's exactly 16 cards, and even if I do fling those all across the room, because I can't shuffle them with my big sausage hands, it takes me all of 9 seconds to pick them up, and I'm all good. So I feel you on that. Plus, sleeves are expensive, right? Like, the sleeves get damaged, which means you have to replace those. That's just an extra expense. I mean, not just an extra expense, but I guess it's cheaper than a new board game. But yeah, that's interesting. And for the record, I am not saying that I will do this, but Rin, if there is a copy of Cards Against Humanity in your store, and the day that I'm there, someone happens to dump like 7 Cokes on it, I want you to know that it was definitely not me.
Oh, don't worry. We have more than 1 copy.
I'm sure I have so many.
That's why I need 7 Cokes, right? Like, isn't that
if you come in and order 7 Cokes, I'm not giving it to you.
She knows what you look like, Bill.
Oh, man.
Rin and I know each other.
Stupid video show. All right, fine. Whatever. That's all right. All right. I hereby make a solemn oath that I will not intentionally damage any copies of Cards Against Humanity.
It's okay. I don't blame you. We try and steer people away from it very actively. It's a lot of work.
There was the family that pulled it out last time I was there, which was amazing. It was like 2 parents and kids like my elder child's age, like middle school
boys who come in. There's just 2 of them, and they just sit there playing with each other. It's like you're just reading the cards. You're not like, you know, when it's just 2 people, and I'm like, Mom, I don't know if I should tell you can't play this game. Your parents probably feel very safe leaving you here, and now I don't know where morally I'm supposed to fall on that, but
and so that actually brings up a question from me, Rin. How do you handle games that do have more of a mature content if, say, you've got a group of 12 or 14-year-olds and they pull out or they pull out something that is clearly not age appropriate?
I'll let middle schoolers play. It's no worse than
walking down a hall.
Other places. Most board game cafes have a separate shelf that say this is adult games. We don't, because we're terrible. Soon we hope I've had at least one occasion where I had to walk over to a table where it was like a mom and her kids and be like, just so you know, if that's your choice, that's fine, but that is a very adult game. And she was like, hey, put that away. And I was like, oh, that's really sorry.
I love you are my kind of terrible, Rin. I'm just
I mean, that's my opinion on it as well. It's kind of, well, okay, you know what? If they know what it is, they know what it is, and I have no right to say anything. But I'm always curious how other cafes handle that, because, well, like you said, like
cafes have an adult shelf, and then if they go there, they go there. I mean, I wouldn't let if I thought an 8-year-old was accidentally grabbing it, I'd be like, hey, no, but if it's middle schoolers or like teenagers, you know, they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's very true.
This is gonna get on the Beverly Facebook page, and they're gonna shut me down.
At least you said that you were terrible straight out the gate, so you're aware.
Yeah, most people who come in know that we're terrible. So
right, exactly. You're the good kind of terrible.
I can confirm. Yep.
There you go. All right. So Dan Casey asked, "What if you do? You either one of you? Well, obviously, Kathleen, you're planning on having wine at yours as far as alcohol goes. Rin, is there alcohol at
Yeah.
Castle?
So we have a beer, wine, and cordial license.
Okay.
And I thought cordials just meant like super sugary things, but we can do like any flavored vodka. Like if there's any, it's amazing what you can get away with cordials. So,
I think you literally just maybe tempted Brandon into coming to Beverly.
Now I'm to the northeast.
we have a small tap. We have a 3-tap system, and then we have a bunch of beer, and then we have a small cordial selection that will be expanding soon. But yeah, drinking is definitely part of the
Do you find that having alcohol on the premises adds any challenges that you could see compared to a non-alcoholic?
Usually, I mean, we've never had any fight. Well, we had one fight, but it wasn't alcohol related. It was game related.
And somebody left a game of Twilight Imperium, it sounds like.
The only issue it causes isn't really related to the actual cafe, but people walk in off the street who are drunk and are like, "Oh, so much," and I'm like, I can't. I just go. We have nerds here. You have to leave. This isn't for you.
You can't be here. We have nerds. This is not nerds here.
It's not your place. So, I mean, we definitely have to be more careful. There definitely is always a little anxiety, because people have fun. If they're here for a while, this is a place you can spend a long time. You do want to, I have on occasion, I'd be like, who's driving tonight? But for the most part, it's not a heavy, crazy drinking place. It's a very, leisurely setting.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like I've had game nights with new gamers who thought that, let's buy a bottle of, doctors and sit and do shots all night while we're playing board game. No, that's not really how that works. But most folks, once they're there for the purposes of playing games, they'll have craft beers and whatnot, but it's not going to be like, woo, let's do a Jaeger bomb, dude. Like that doesn't seem like the sort of people in general. So Kathleen, I'm sorry, I keep kind of coming back to you after this, but do you feel like any of this is of concern to the clientele that you anticipate getting?
Hudson has a very active bar culture, and it's one of the reasons why I didn't want to open a bar, because we already have, off the top of my head, I can think of about maybe a dozen places in a 2.5 square mile town.
Sure. So lots of competition.
So there's lots of competition, and frankly, they're all doing really cool things, whether they are going super craft with the cocktails, and we've got a couple of places that do amazing cocktails, or if they go really, really interesting with the wine. I know I can't compete, and I don't want to. These are people, these are my colleagues, these are people I've known for years. It's like, nope, let me do something totally different. Right. So it's going to be a small by the glass and by the bottle and can list of wine and beer. All of the wines, I've pretty much picked out most of the wines already just from my own knowledge. The beers are all going to be local breweries because it's upstate New York, and upstate New York has probably one of the highest concentrations of small breweries in the country.
Oh, okay.
I would say we're probably only second to Portland, just in terms of concentration, not in terms of sheer numbers, but in terms of how many in a particular, I wouldn't even say square mileage, I would say literally per population.
Okay, we gotcha. Cool.
So it's really, in that sense, I have a lot to choose from. And I can just kind of be like, okay, I'm going to pick and choose. And I'm not a huge beer drinker. I like it. I enjoy it. I can evaluate it. But it's not something where I'm like, oh, yes, I know for a fact I want these beers. So I'm just going to kind of play with that. So I'm not too concerned. Also, again, coming from the business, I know how to say no to people.
Right.
I'm really good at saying no to people. I was hired in my last job because I'm good at saying no to people.
Sure. So this is not something.
It's something, and the few people in town who would concern me are not people who are going to be sitting around and hanging out for hours because there's no bar.
Sure.
There are tables,
Right.
but
It's not the kind of environment that people like that would be likely to seek out.
Yeah, it's just it is totally different, and it is much more family friendly. So
Sure.
I think that will generate a different atmosphere, or at least I hope it will.
For sure. Real quick, do either one of you sell or are planning on selling games, or do you just have a library that people use while they're there?
We have a very small selection.
You have your Cards Against Humanity display that you can sell from, and then a couple of...
We do not.
Parents, get this for your
Copy of
kids. Right here.
Splendor, a copy of Castle Panic, a copy of Love Letter. So
Okay.
it's something we've been doing more and more, but we're trying to figure out what people want. The main thing is we don't have a big area for it. Like we're trying to squeeze. We get pretty packed out on the weekends, so we don't want to give up table space for.
Right.
So we're hoping to grow it, but it's just not a top priority. There's not a lot. There's a few other game stores in the area. There's another one that's moving probably 25 minutes from us that looks like a great, locally owned game store, and I have no problem sending people to them and having
Sure.
a good relationship with them. So we're kind of focusing on what we're good at and filling in, if we think somebody's going to pick up a little thing like Love Letter as a quick purchase at the counter, we'd love to send them home with it, but it's not.
Sure. Not your focus.
It's not going to keep us open because games aren't that profitable, to be honest.
Yeah. True story. Kathleen?
Magic.
Yeah.
We do sell magic.
Yeah.
I do sort of have a similar issue in regards to space. I'm actually having to reorganize some of my original plans because where I was going to put the shelves doesn't actually work for various reasons, which is unfortunate, but it does mean that I now have even less space than I thought I had. What I would like to do, and actually my business plan, I did out a whole 5-year plan, and I went through that whole process and everything. And so my business plan does call for game sales to be part of the revenue at some point.
Sure.
What I really would like to do at some point, though, is start up going back to the wine business. There's something very common in a lot of wine stores where they have a club where you pay a set amount every month, and the owner or the manager or whoever runs the club puts together a selected package of wine for that month. And it's usually different levels based on either knowledge or price point or what have you. And I'd like to do the same thing with games. The idea of a curated offering of games that instead of being like, oh, hey, we've got this giant wall of games, be like, no, here's what we're playing. Here's what we like right now. Join the club and we'll give you the game. We'll give you a playthrough video. Who knows? Whatever I can come up with. That's the future.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. What I was going to say is I think there's something very much to be said for the idea of, like, to borrow the term, a game sommelier service in stores and game libraries and anything where there's a large choice selection, right? Having somebody knowledgeable or even if you can't do somebody like a searchable database or whatever, which is like, hey, we have 2 hours and 4 players. What's a great game for this or whatever? I think that seems to be one of those things where it seems to me to be something that would be infinitely valuable, especially in a cafe setting, like more so maybe than even a store, is because people are, when people are shelling out 50, 60, $100 for a box, then it's very much their decision. But if they're paying $5 to come and hang out for the day, and there's a human being that can be like, you guys have 4 in your group, cool, you got about 2 hours, here's a game that takes about 2 hours and maybe you'd really give it a shot. Yep. Then it seems like a much more valuable idea. So I think that's really clever.
Yeah, and it's exactly what I did in my retail career. People would come up and they would say, I'm having this for dinner. It's this crazy combination of this is the appetizer and this is the main course, but I only want one wine that'll go with all of it.
Right.
It's like, and I only have $15 to spend. So it's like, okay, great. You know what? I know exactly which one to give you. It's right here. This is it. Here are the characteristics. This is how much it costs you. Boom. And yeah, it is about bringing that same concept to games, because games are getting to a point now. The gaming industry is getting to a point where it has an amazing variety in terms of play style, mechanics, like you said, the time, the amount of time it takes to play a game. Something is cracking Kimberly up over there. I don't know what it is. But
Kimberly, all right. I'm sorry. We're going to pause really fast. Kimberly, just get it done. Kimberly's had to sneeze for like 5 minutes, and she's trying to fight it and fight it and fight it, and it's making her make weird faces and slight noises.
Fine. I'll just, leave. Let Kathleen finish. I will sneeze and swear. It's not good.
I will say that most board game cafes do have something called. There's different names like we call it Game Master. Some places call it Game Guru. That is a person's job to tell you what game might work for you. We actually don't really do it anymore with a single person. We kind of all do it. So if you come in, like, I think the one we do the most is groups of college kids who are trying to get to not play Cards Against Humanity, and then like couples who are in. So I'm constantly being like, hey, don't play Connect 4, try Patchwork,
Yeah.
But having
they love Avalon because they love to hate each other. So we get them to play Avalon a lot, and all turn on each other. So that kind of recommendation thing is really a thing a lot of board game cafes do, where it's like, all right, how many players you got? How long are you here for? What kind of games do you already like? Okay, you like Catan, but you don't realize there's any other game than Catan. Let's try and find something else, because you don't need to play it every single night. So
yeah. Well,
you have literally just described my dream job. Like, this is, if there was a way that someone could pay me to be that guy and walk around and tell people what games to play, I'm down.
Makes Lattes has a ton of just their job is just to be game guru. Move to Toronto.
And in Montreal, and now I'm blanking on the name of the cafe there. But there's one in Montreal. It's the same idea. It's, you have a staff that is specifically just for recommending games and matching you with games, and they have played everything, and it is their job to play every game and know it inside and out and be able to explain it and teach it and recommend it. But I love the idea of the entire staff being able to do that. I think
I'm just like I can hear the chorus of angels singing as we, like, really. I know I'm ready. Like, it's calling to me. I'm ready. I'm good.
Can you speak French, Bill?
You're so much closer to us if you move and work at Kathleen's cafe, though.
There you go.
All right.
this
Well,
is true.
if you, yes, I will come.
Yes.
You win. We're good. If there is wine and me playing and recommending games, I'm calling this a win. And I'm the guy that was trying to get Anheuser-Busch to sponsor the show by drinking Bud Light. So you know that everything you put in front of me is going to be amazing by comparison. So I'm ready. This is going to be great. Like, I'm ready. I'm ready. All right. Well, I got to say, and I say this every week, but we've really been blessed by having some really smart, fun people on the show. And Kathleen and Rin, thank you so much for bringing all of this wisdom. But if you don't mind, it is now the portion of our show where we toss all wisdom out the window, and we introduce you to the rapid fire segment of the show. So how this works, because you've never been on the show, is I'm going to ask each of you 5 questions, and you have to answer it as fast as you can. No umming and ahhing and pausing, and no repeating the question 6 times, so that way you have time to think. You just got to say stuff. Okay?
Just yell.
You'll do it.
When in doubt, yell.
So
yell anything.
No crazy long answers like last week.
Yes. You know what, here's the deal. Mr. Bonacore is that guy, and far be it from me to tell him he is an orator. And we gave him a lot of crap about it after the show went off the air. So you're all right. We're good. It's cool. All right. Do you both, everybody understands how the game works? All right. I'm just going to go forward anyway, even if you say no. So here we go. All right. I randomly chose before the show started, and Kathleen, you get to go first. Kathleen
No pressure,
Miller,
Kathleen.
Kathleen Miller of the House Rules Cafe in Hudson, New York. Are you ready?
No, but go ahead anyway.
Okay, here we go. Kathleen, your favorite game for 2 players?
Sushi Go.
Okay. Your go-to game when you have Sushi Go for 2 players. All
We're
right.
doing
Your
it's
go-to
sitting in
game
front
when
of
you
me.
have, your go-to game when you have 45 minutes to play.
Were you
Can't wait till it answers the Sushi Go for all questions.
No, it just it's sitting right there. Sorry.
So your go-to game for 45 minutes is also Sushi Go?
No, my go-to game for 45 minutes is Ticket to Ride.
There you go. A game that you think overstays its welcome.
That's a great question. I don't know. I have no idea.
I caused her to lock up all the way.
Just yell it. Read the games behind Bill's head and pick one.
Yeah. Say, there's like a cheat sheet right here. No.
Uh,
I
don't have any. I can't
I'm
think of
trying.
any. I know. I can't.
Pick a long game that you've played. We'll go with that. No?
Oh God, Jeopardy music! You're making this even worse.
Remember how we said
I
no
watched,
long answers?
Star Trek Ascendancy.
There you go. Perfect. A game design that you would love to sit and have a cup of coffee with.
Viticulture.
So Jamie Stegmeyer. All right, we'll go with that.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes,
That's all right.
Yes,
And
James.
what
Sorry,
do you put in your coffee?
Design. Milk and a little bit of sugar.
Milton. There you go. Well done, Kathleen. And by well done, I mean you survived. Good job, you. All right. Rin Grant, proprietor of
Hello.
the Castle in Beverly, Massachusetts. It is your turn. Rin, are you ready?
Sure.
You got to see how this goes, so there you go. All right, Rin, here we go. Rin, your favorite game that involves partnerships.
What does that even mean? Like working
Yeah, I don't know
together?
what that means either.
So like Teach-U is a partnership game.
2 versus.
Yeah. Team versus team, anything where you are partners with somebody.
Now I feel
4
like I've never
versus
played
4.
partnerships. What are all these games? Partnerships. Someone mail me a
I'm not the
partnership
only one
game.
locking up.
Nothing.
No, even the games he's listening, I've never played any of those.
Really?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Well,
wasn't joking when I said I don't have time to play games anymore.
okay, very good. All right.
Sometimes I play Dangling Rabbits, which is a dice dropping game with my 6-year-old.
Yes.
There you go. That's we'll go with that. Yeah, so say the chat is giving you choices like crazy. Euchre, code names.
Code names.
Code
that's a good
names. There
one,
you go.
yeah.
Like code names, right?
Oh, you could. Yeah, I do like. All right.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Rin, a game that you think perfectly evokes its theme.
A game that perfectly what?
Evokes its theme. So like the theme works really well with the gameplay.
Star Trek Panic.
Perfect. There you go. A game that you love but you can't ever seem to get to the table.
Oh, like any game. I can just name any game.
All of the games.
Oh, I was gonna ask you. That's cheating. My husband
Yes.
just walked in. I was gonna be like, "What's a game that I love but I can't ever?" Okay.
You,
But that's
you were
fine.
going to
Let's
do
go
that,
with
but
you.
then you didn't. So you showed us how you were going to do it and then didn't.
I know. At least Kathleen. I could have done great, but I didn't want Kathleen to feel bad. So like,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm doing this for you, Kathleen. Let's go with Seven Wonders. They're
There you
customer-
go.
The
All
other
right.
room. This is like
Rin, a game that you think deserves its own techno theme song.
a game that it deserves. Are my
Deserves.
questions weirder than Kathleen, or is that am I just being-
These are a bit more difficult there, Bill.
These are weird questions. Though.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm gonna say Dixit.
There you go.
Hey.
And your favorite junk food.
My favorite junk food. Oh, I eat a lot of Slim Jims. It's really gross.
There you go.
Like a lot.
They are not more difficult than Kathleen's. They're just different.
They're weird.
It's clearly difficult for me. So.
They're always,
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Rin,
No, they're
More
not difficult. They're
than
just mismatched.
yes. For the record, the questions are always supposed to be weird. That's sort of the point. There you go. All right. Now it's time for all of the cheap plugs. First, we will start with Rin. Rin, if people wanted to know more about you and the things that you do, possibly including the castle in Beverly, Massachusetts, where would they find out online?
Yes, we are at thecastlebeverly.com. We are at facebook.com/castlebeverly. We are on Twitter at thecastlebev and on Instagram at thecastlebeverly. And we're on Pinterest too. We have our whole board game library page, so you can save games you want to play.
Nice.
We're everywhere. Yeah.
I like that now that you're in front of a game shop, so that way you.
Oh, I came in here to cheat with your questions.
Damn it! All my games
Very
were over at
good.
the cafe. I couldn't do that. That's part of the problem.
Nice. Kathleen, you specifically have a Kickstarter going right now to help fund in your last few days to help fund the existence of the House Rules
I'm
Cafe.
gonna see if this is gonna work. No, it's not. Too much glare. I was gonna see if I could show you like the Kickstarter on my phone because we are $404 away from our goal.
Oh.
We have 3 days left. You're really, really, really close. We can do
Okay.
this. I swear.
You got.
So
Well, like I said, we did our part. So
Definitely.
if you search Kickstarter for House Rules Cafe, it'll come up with the really cool black logo with the white text and the red border. That's the one you're looking for. Go support them.
Post on the top of your Facebook page too.
It is. It's on the top of my Facebook page. It's at the top of the Twitter page. It is posted with some regularity to Instagram because every time we hit some sort of milestone, either me or my husband goes nuts and posts it.
Sure.
Usually him. He's more the Instagram person than I am.
You have. So is it just House Rules Cafe on Facebook?
It is House Rules Hudson on Facebook. It
Okay.
is House Rules Hudson on Instagram. And on Twitter, we are House Rules Cafe. And the website, which is up but doesn't have a ton of content, is houserulescafe.com.
Very cool. Brandon Kemp is
Yes.
the grand master of the What Did You Play This Week podcast thing.
Well, that's better than what it was before.
I know. The Justice League of Podcasts.
There you go.
Brandon, where would people find out more about you?
I am Aquaman. Anyway,
Aquaman.
My friend is actually the writer of the current Justice League of America series.
Nice.
So he participated in our panel 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Now I don't even remember. 3 weeks ago, I think it was.
I feel a crossover coming.
No, he participated in a discussion panel about representation in comic books, specifically gender identity and sexuality. So that was a lot of fun.
Very
And,
cool.
we're hoping to do more of those.
Brandon, for your the excellent podcast of which I am an every once in a great while contributor, where would people look?
you can find it on any podcast feed generator thing that you could ever want to find us on. Just look for the What Did You Play This Week podcast.
There you
And
go.
don't sneeze, Kimberly.
You're not helping.
Nice. And on Twitter, you are it's
I am, yeah, it's WDYPTW on Twitter or at
Yes.
back at BK.
super easy to remember. Kimberly,
Initials.
I don't want to talk.
I know, but you have to.
Let it go.
That's
I'm
how
at
you
you,
do it.
table.
Don't hold it back anymore.
And
Get you to sing.
I
And-
say so many bad words when I sneeze. Don't let me sneeze.
it's all right. It'll be fine. And
You also not do that. Like that's not a medical condition.
Yes, it is.
Kimberly is also one of the organizers of the Granite Game Summit, which you can follow on Twitter at G2 Summit, or you can go to billsbirthdaybash.com for more information if you want to register and go to it. Yes, because Bill is that guy and spent $12
He's that
to,
guy.
to
Yeah.
get a vanity URL just to redirect to granitegamesummit.com. So,
We're gonna be doing trivia there, so the castle will be doing a trivia.
You can come
Really?
see Rin too.
all right. Well,
She's
I
gonna
guess
do
we
our
are.
trivia.
Selections from tonight.
And I'm going to make a serious attempt to be there at least for Saturday. I make
Awesome.
no promises, but that's the current plan.
Very
We'll figure
cool.
it out.
I believe Saturday is when the official singing in 4-part harmony of Happy Birthday to Bill is supposed to happen.
Oh, no, I think
I
I
think-
missed that.
No, you will not miss that, Rin. That's part of the point.
I have to work.
What? Oh, close the store. Whatever. Just say it's not
But I have
snowing. I'm not going to be there.
Like a mob or something.
That's fine. Ladies and If you want to find out more about me, my personal account is Bill Corey Jr. on Twitter. Cubist Podcast on Twitter is the show. And my own cheap plug there. We have just relaunched our Patreon for the show. So if you enjoy what you see here on the show and you feel like supporting us in any amount, there's different pledge levels that you can make a monthly pledge for. If you think about it, it comes down to like $0.25 a week for this show at the smallest pledge level. So it's easy peasy, super cheap. So your homework, viewers, number one, your homework is to go hit up the Kickstarter for Kathleen and House Rules Cafe. We'll even put that ahead of our own Patreon this week, Kathleen. That's how much we value our guests. And right after you're done with that, go to patreon.com/the Cubist podcast and check it out and just see if that's something that you'd be interested in supporting. We're not trying to make money here. We're never going to get rich. We just want to cover our hosting fees, basically. So whatever you can do is always great. So Kimberly, you know that there's a mute button. You could have muted yourself and sneezed like 15 minutes ago. I didn't want to point that out because this is funnier. But
And we could have muted her as well, just to let her do it.
No, but I was definitely not going to help. I'm not going to enable her. That's not a thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I know. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope everybody has a fantastic week of gaming. Rin, make a point of getting some gaming in, dang it.
I will do, maybe tomorrow.
There you go. I feel like you might say that every night before you go to bed. That might just be a thing. Well, maybe tomorrow I'll play a game. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a great night. We will see you all again very, very soon. Take care.